So welcome. I've got to remember to look at that camera this time. For those of you watching on our YouTube channel, I keep forgetting where the camera is, but it's there because there's so many things looking at me trying to do this. So if you're not already, get onto our YouTube channel. That's where you can see all the videos of all the great guests that we have on Insane in the Membrane. There's also clips of me doing my stand-up. There's connections to other things. There's clips also. There's be all sorts of things on there. So go and have a like, go and have a subscribe. The more likes and subscribers we get, the more ears and eyes it gets into. So please do that for us. We've also got richwilsoncomedian.com. That's my website. It's been lovingly streamlined now, so it's all on one page. All the links are there for our Dark Horse Live comedy nights that we do at the Sussex Arms in Tunbridge Wells. You've got links to our YouTube page. You've got links to other things that I've been on, other podcasts like Parents in Hell with Rob Beckett and Josh Widdicombe. And you've got Brett Goldstein's Films to be Buried With. I've been on that. And there's a few others. Have a look at that. If you're interested in what I do, it's all on there. So go and check that out, richwilsoncomedian.com. We've also got our radio show, Radio Bath. That goes out at 12 noon every Saturday on DAB, or you can enable Alexa to you say to Alexa, enable Radio Bath, and it will be in your ears. We get to pick the playlists, and so you're not hemmed in with the usual 10 songs by Kings of Leon, Stereophonics, and The Killers. No disrespect to those bands, but you know how it is. Whereas our radio show, it's all over the place. It's eclectic. And the amount of people that said to me for the first one, it's brave opening with The Damned. I'm like, yeah, but, I wanted to make an impact. So, first ever song on Radio Bath was New Rose by The Damned. I think that's quite the calling card. And that's all the admin. I've done it again. That's all the admin. I'm very good at this.
Cleared it up in 2 minutes.
Cleared it up in 2 minutes. You should have heard the record for the last one we did. If you've been listening so far, I'm putting it out. Look, I was putting it out of the way so that no one could see. I forget I'm being filmed. So anyway, how are you? Are you well? Are you good? This week's episode is music based, and those of you that have been listening to us for some time will know how much I love music. In fact, Producer Paul and I were just sitting and talking, seeing how many acts we've had on that are music acts, like Glenn Matlock from Sex Pistols, James Smith from Yard Act, we had John Newman, various other people, and what we're going to do to save you going and looking for them, we're going to collect them all up and we're going to put them all out over Christmas, so you can see. For those who are into music, see that it's not just comedians that we've had on. We've had all sorts. We've had authors, playwrights. We've had actors. We have everybody on this show. Everybody that's got an interesting story to tell. We've got some brilliant people coming up as well. So stay tuned. Keep an eye on our socials on Instagram. You've got Membrane Podcast on. Is that on Instagram? Is that what it's called?
I don't know. I think it might be. Yeah.
Just put Insane in the Membrane Instagram into your Googles, and you'll find it. We're on there. I am Rich Wilson on the other one. Producer Paul's on there as Producer Paul, but I'll be fucked if he knows if he's ever looked at it. I tag him in stuff all the time, and he just ignores it. So, but then he asked me to plug stuff, and I don't do that. So the pair of us together, I'm surprised you're even looking or hearing at this. Pair of old fuds trying to find our way in this brave new world of technology. Anyway. Let's get on with the episode, because this week it's Symren Gharial. Now, Sim was in the band 80s Matchbox B-Line Disaster. I was a fan of at the time when they were around 20 years ago. And so it turned out that my wife, Kate McGann, the wonderful Kate McGann, she's friends with him. And she said, I'm friends with him. I went, are you fucking kidding me? She went, yeah, do you want me to have a word, see if he'll come on? I went, yes, of course. And he did. And he said, yeah. And we had a brilliant chat. So you'll be able to hear that in a moment. So, and honestly, if music's so important, get involved with it. Put it on. If you're feeling shit, put a fucking album on, mate. You'll feel much better about yourself. So, with that in mind, let's get on with the episode. So, coming up in a minute is Symren Gharial. Welcome to Insane in the Membrane with me, Rich Wilson, and this week I'm joined by the brilliant Sam. Sorry, I said Sam. Fucking Sam.
It's okay, I can do Sam.
Sorry, man, Sam. It's because I was too busy worrying about the second bit.
So my grandma used to call me Sam.
Oh,
anyway,
man,
yeah. So I don't want to confuse things anymore. Anyway, yeah.
I just was like, I'm so excited to have you on, and then the first thing I do is fuck it up. Unbelievable. All right, we'll do it again. Here we go.
I'm going to keep it all in, don't
Oh, yeah. Fuck it. Keep it in. Fuck it. Keep all of it in.
Right.
Yeah. This is Symren Gharial, everybody, from 80s Matchbox B-Line Disaster, and now a solo artist in his own right. How are you, Sim? Are you good?
I am really good. Yeah. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. I have to say, as I already said in the fuck up at the beginning, I'm so excited to have you on. It's as much as I love comedy and music is where it's at for me, and your band were a pivotal moment for me was your band. So it's great to have you on, mate.
Oh, thanks. It's a real pleasure to be here, Rich. Yeah, I've been excited too. So yeah, nice to see you properly, and looking forward to having a good chinwag.
Yeah. I mean, what was it like? Well, firstly, let's, for the benefit of the listeners, where did the name for the band come from? If you remember.
Well,
a lot has happened since then.
A lot has happened, yeah. But also not much. I mean, I remember we were kind of on a night out, and initially, like when we all kind of got together and congregated, we were a band who definitely didn't really know how to play instruments and didn't have any songs, didn't have a name. But, our idea of a band was more about the kind of us being together and the clothes and the music and drugs and kind of dreams, really, rather than anything else. So we were on one of these nights out that was, usually used to end up going on for about 3 or 4 days. And I think we were just walking down Brading Road in Brighton at the top of Elm Grove. I don't know if you know it. You live in Brighton, don't you?
Yeah. No, we moved.
Top of Elm Grove.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I
know where you are, yeah.
Yeah, and Guy sort of just said that this car looked like an 80s Matchbox B-Line Disaster. So we used to think that the 80s was a really terrible decade for music. But I mean, we've since amended that opinion, I think, individually. But and that it was just a really shit looking car. So I think the words kind of stuck, and we ended up using it as a name for the band. I mean, we had this other name called Spirit Brown, which was a bit naff. Probably a good idea that we didn't really stick with that. But yeah, we ended up using it, and it was quite sort of controversial at the time, because everybody else was called the Somethings,
That's right. Yeah,
the Vines and the Libertines and the Strokes and the White Stripes, and so we kind of stood out like a sore thumb with this really, really long name, Whereas now sort of everybody has a really, really long name, don't they? But I think it was subconsciously, part of our kind of desire to kind of, work against things that were good for us, really. Do you know what I mean?
But I think that's what stood out for me was straight away you go, what the fuck is this? Because everything was so the this and the that, and then you go, what the fuck? And then listen to the stuff, and it just you were like. It was like I mean, I was listening to it again recently, and I'm going, this is unlike anything else really that was around at the time. I mean, there was people doing their stuff, but your stuff, I was listening, there was like a rockabilly element I felt, and like the Cramps, that sort of thing. Hello, is it gone funny?
Sorry, it cut out slightly there. Yeah.
Sorry, man. There's an
sort of like unlike anything else. Yeah.
And there's an element of and I loved it.
But it was weird because we hadn't really heard of any of those bands like the Cramps or the Birthday Party or, the Gun Club
really?
or, when we started the band, we were really just into kind of quite sort of simple stuff, really, like the Stooges and the Doors and the Pixies and the Velvet Underground. And and I think the band initially the songs are all quite slow, I'm not sure where this it kind of evolved into this kind of speed punk psychobilly type thing. I'm not really sure how, but I think maybe it was just due to a lot of amphetamines going around, and also a lot of I mean, apart from Andy Huxley, like we really couldn't play our instruments. I mean, I know a lot of people sort of say that, when they start a band, we couldn't really play, but they could, they knew how to play, but we really, really didn't know how to play. So, we had to kind of find another way of kind of presenting the idea, you know. And I think it's weird. It's strange. I think since then I did everything backwards really. I got bass lessons and learnt how to, you know, all the sort of scales, and learnt bass classically when I stopped being in a band. So I learnt it all properly afterwards. I mean, and I feel like now that I can actually play, I feel like I it was better when I couldn't play, because I think you have to find
Yeah.
you just the sound you make, and the things that you have to tap into, the simplicity of what the tools that you're using, I don't know, can be a lot more powerful sometimes, I think, you know.
Well, it's,
And I think that's
yeah,
what,
it's funny. Listen, yeah, I've been listening to John Robb's book. John Robb's book, The Art of Darkness. There's History of Goth,
Oh,
and
right,
he was
yeah.
and he's talking about a load of bands, you know, like when punk started and all that, and none of them could play their instruments. They were just like, "Fuck it, we're going to do it." And we're going to go and do the punk festival at the 100 Club, and we haven't even played a gig
Yeah.
yet. We're just going to fucking do
Yeah.
it. So it sounds like you had a
Yeah.
similar kind of attitude.
Yeah, yeah, and I think when you're younger, you're kind of fearless, aren't you? You have an audacity and a kind of a courage that it's harder to sort of tap into, you know, as the years roll on. But I think, you know, also we felt very strong as a unit, you know, of people who at the time, you know, we were kind of inseparable, and I feel like, you know, we were really sort of unified by the music, the bands that we were into from the past, and you know, clothes particularly. I think, you know, it was back then. It was like you could tell what bands people are into just by looking at them. You know, and you knew whether you were going to be friends with someone just by looking at them, and that was a kind of a magical thing. And obviously, it was pre-internet and all of that sort of stuff, so you really had to go out together to sort of experience things, to kind of yeah, to kind of do anything really. And so we felt really strong and kind of quite sort of indestructible as a unit, I think. And I think maybe that was kind of what we had more than kind of being able to play our instruments and stuff. Yeah, yeah, it was a kind of a powerful thing. I think it's harder when you get older to kind of find that. Or maybe it's just a rare thing. I don't know. Yeah.
There aren't many people I know. I've always loved music. I've talked about it loads of times on this podcast, but I never had that kind of, oh yeah, I'm just going to fucking do it. I never had anyone around me that was kind of like, yeah, let's fucking do it. So I think having that gang of you going, we're all, fuck it, none of us know how to play, let's just do it, is a strength like no other.
Yeah, and I think with sort of youth and music and kind of, you know, sort of pharmaceuticals and the time that it was, I think you end up just rolling with what's going on. Do you know what I mean? It's very little kind of conscious premeditation of like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. It wasn't like a big plan. It was like, we're just doing this and we're kind of rolling with it, you know. And but yeah, it's just that kind of confidence, isn't it, that you have?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's sort of harder. I mean, I guess bands aren't really so much a thing anymore, are they? I mean, the way music's gone. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think, you know,
I think it'll come back. It goes around, it goes in cycles, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
It's just harder, isn't it? You know, to do it. I think,
you haven't got the venues. Like, I think what was good about, I remember I was working in Brick Lane in sort of sort of 2000. So there was always
amazing
somebody like you guys. There was always someone around. You'd always bump into someone, Pete Doherty or someone else, and there's that guy, there's that person, there's that girl, and then there was what's his name, Jason from Spiritualized. He was around, and you kind of going, you know, it was a vibe, and people were doing gigs in people's lounges in the flats. You know,
yeah. I mean, around Brick Lane at that time, around East London was great. I mean, it was amazing around that sort of mid 2000s time, and even Brighton was, you know, it was just a great time. I think there was a sort of good scene of people, I think, and a good sort of spirit, and definitely a good sort of community. Harder to get. Everything feels quite fragmented now, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know. You know, I'm a 45-year-old man, so I probably wouldn't be seen kind of hanging out at those kind of things. But you know, I wouldn't really be wanted at those kind of things anymore. But But yeah, it feels like like I think we had it good at that time. I think so.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you feel like you
never
were
to be
part of something?
recreated.
But I think the fact that you experienced that is a lot of bands dream of, getting to a point where they're getting noticed and they're there's interest, and then they're part of, not necessarily, for want of a better phrase, a scene. Did you feel like you were part of something?
Yeah, yeah. It definitely was. I mean, I feel like what was interesting about it was that there was lots of people who were of a similar age, who sort of came through and were new bands at the same time. Like there was suddenly like a lot of new bands with similar influences. I wouldn't necessarily say like all the bands were the same, but with
Yeah.
similar influences and similar kind of dreams and similar kind of clothes. And yeah, we were all just kind of seems like we were all just sort of suddenly plonked in this kind of touring, kind of going around at the same parties, kind of thing. And so it did feel like you were part of something, and everybody was a bit kind of lost, and a bit
Yeah.
bewildered and bamboozled and confused. And I think I think the people who are really professional are still kind of doing it now, aren't they? In their various bands. I don't know, like Kasabian or something, but
yeah.
it did feel like it, and it felt really good, and it was really great to meet like-minded people, as it always is, through music and through playing live and gigs and things
Yeah.
like that. I mean, we did an initial tour with sort of Ikara Cult and the Parkinsons.
Yeah, right.
And the whole thing was like sold out UK tour off like one piece of press in the NME,
Yeah,
and you just can't imagine something like that happening now,
mate.
where people would, there's not any music journalism that's kind of that, I suppose that has that kind of power really anymore to kind of get people to just go and watch bands and stuff. So it was really good. Yeah.
It was a very hedonistic time. I remember, because I was working in this shop and I was getting breakfast in the morning as I was on my way to the shop, and I bumped into a mate, Ben. I can't remember what band he was in. Mate, I can't remember. But he was all big-eyed. This is how naive I was. He was all big-eyed. I'm like, all right, mate, you're up early. And he went, no, I've been out. And he pointed over like that. And he was with Pete Doherty. And I went, oh.
Yeah.
And it didn't even twig. So I went to the shop and I went, oh, shit, they ain't been to bed.
Yeah. It was a hedonistic time. I think for better, probably good thing really. There's less drugs around the music scene these days, isn't there? I don't think bands can really afford to, or artists can really afford to kind of be doing that, like financially, and also just so much more for you to do as an artist now. I think you have to like do everything yourself, whereas back then it was all kind of a little bit more done for you. It was like rehearsals were organised for you. No one ever turned up to rehearsals. That was fine. And then you'd go on tour and kind of do whatever you wanted, really. But I think now you have to work a lot harder at the whole thing, don't you? You have to get all your you have to get all your artwork together. You have to like record your songs yourself. You have to do everything. You have to manage yourself. You have to do all of that. So I'm not sure that there's the same time to kind of go and get royally wasted 7 days a week.
Oh man, I mean, even talking about it, I was made me shudder. I couldn't function. When I think back to what I've done and what I've got involved in, extracurricular activities, I couldn't. There's no way I could do what I'm doing now and be that fucked.
Yeah. Because also you've recently become a dad as well, haven't you? Like me,
mate. Yeah. So that's it.
I was a dad. Doing that.
Fuck it hell.
Yeah.
Well, there was a couple of times because I've got kids already from the 90s,
right?
And I do remember there was a couple of times when I'd been out and I'm like, oh fuck, I've got to get back because I've got to be up in the morning. And and you go home and then you get up in the morning and you're still a bit fucked, but you keep it together and. Even now, when I'm telling you about it, I'm like, oh, that's a fucking horrible thing to admit.
No, I mean, I can't imagine. I struggle enough as it is with all the early mornings and the kind of just relentlessly tired, exhausted. How old's your little one now?
He's 11 months now. Yeah,
Oh,
and
wow.
he's climbing. But you know what, though? He's getting into his
First
tunes. I had some
Christmas.
music on. First
Yeah.
Christmas. I put some music on the other day and he was shuffling in his little chair. So I'm like, oh, that's it. Yeah. He's getting into his music, which is good. But how old's
Oh,
yours?
amazing. She is 3.5 now. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
So this is the first Christmas where she's kind of, all over it,
Yeah.
and kind of understands it all. I mean, she was sort of understood it last year a bit, but this year's the one, I think, where she's
This is
just
the one, mate.
climbing the walls. Yeah. So it's exciting. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
a magical time. This is the magical bit when they're just blown away by the lights and the pageantry of the whole festival sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
beautiful time.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to
What
it.
was your turning point then back then? Because like we say, it was so hedonistic and so full on. Was there a moment you went, "Oh God, I can't keep doing this. I'm actually not hanging on as much as well as I could or thought I could."
Oh, I mean, there was just hundreds of those points. I mean, I had that point when I was about 17, I think, before I'd even met the band. I was
Yeah.
just like, I can't carry on doing this, um, and then for me, it just went on and on and on and on, really. But I knocked it all on the head when I was 32, so I've not touched anything drink or drugs wise since November 2011.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So not trying to sound like any do-good or anything, but yeah, I mean, it just got to that point for me where I couldn't really couldn't really have gone any further with it. I feel like I explored every sort of nook and cranny and crevice, and and just went to kind of to the ends of the earth with it, really, and I just had enough,
Yeah.
really. But yeah, I'd kind of reached that point when I was 17. And then it just kind of went on. But not, when you're 17, that's the last thing you want to do is start thinking about giving things up. That's just when you're
mate,
kind
just
of
getting started.
getting going.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And I felt like, by the time, I think I was pretty destitute by the time I was 32. I moved back to London by that point.
Yeah.
And I was just, and the band had kind of ended. And, it's just, it was a pretty horrible time. But yeah, that's just how it went for me. And then I just haven't really gone back to it because I just, I just guess my experience was it that I could never really do it in any kind of normal fashion. So
It's all or
I just
nothing.
kind of knocked it. Yeah. I mean, if I could, go and have a couple of drinks, and it not turn into a full scale week-long bender, then that would be fantastic. But I've just never managed to do it. Honestly, so yeah, it's better though. I mean, I don't think I'd be able to sort of be in a relationship or kind
No.
of be a dad. So yeah, it's all good really. But
Yeah. I
but a
think
lot
it
of
does
people are
become
like that these days anyway, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
it seems to be less of a thing, doesn't it?
I think there's a generation now where they're not wreckheads. There are people I know being in
Yeah.
comedy. There's a few people that I know still get on it and still do whatever. But the
Yeah.
majority of people are more focused on what they're doing, and they're not even drinking. And I mean, fair play to them, but like you say, it sounds like you got into every single nook and cranny, every dark corner, every bright corner, every corner,
Yeah. Yeah.
of the rock and roll lifestyle, for want of a better phrase again. And you went, well, I've
Yeah,
done
yeah.
it now. So
There was nowhere left to go. Yeah. And I remember I had some pretty good times as well. It wasn't all, but I think by the end of it, it all was dark and stuff. But I guess people
yeah,
can't really afford it as well in the same way. I mean, how much is a pint in a pub these days? I mean,
oh, dude, it's nearly 9
6, 7
quid.
quid, 9
Yeah,
quid. Right there you go.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's getting
I
silly.
mean, gone are the days when I used to pinch a tenner out of my mum's purse, and then be out all weekend.
Those days, those glorious
You know.
days.
Yeah, and that was enough for like half a gram of speed, 4 cans and then a packet of cigarettes and yeah.
Yeah, man.
Now
It
you
was
can't do much with a tenner now, can you?
well, a tenner now is like what a quid would have been back then. You know, it's rapidly changed. But do you still see? Have you completely fallen out with a band, or is there you got a connection still? Or?
So don't talk to the singer particularly much, and or the drummer Guy or Tom. Don't have much contact with them. I speak to Andy every now and again. He's had 3 kids.
Yeah.
I'm good friends with Mark Norris. I sort of am meeting up with him next Monday. Actually, he lives in Berlin.
Oh
So,
wow,
I mean,
nice.
so he's coming over. So I'm going to go down to London because I live in Manchester now. So
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to go and meet him in London on Monday. But it's just one of those things. It's so hard, isn't it? Like we got back together in 2012 and did off the back of this Nike. We had a track on a Nike advert, bizarrely, for the Euros, which is kind of the most sort of, which is pretty cool, but was kind of the most ridiculous thing ever, really. And then we kind of couldn't really. We started working on a new record, and then we re-released our record. So there's been quite a lot of stuff. Like people have tried to sort of, other outside people have tried to get the band back together and tried to kind of do things, but unfortunately internally, it's a bit
Bit
it's a
tricky.
bit kaput.
It's a shame. It's a shame. Yeah, it's a shame. But these things happen. You know, people change, and you know, it's a hard one. But I know, yeah, because I was wondering because you had the 20th anniversary of your album. And I didn't know if there was going to be anything like you guys were going to do anything for that, and then that sort of, you know.
Well, we had quite a lot of shows booked. We had quite a lot of shows booked, but we just didn't do them in typical typical fashion. Yeah. So we just didn't do them. It's just I think different people, you know, wanted different things, and it's hard, isn't it? Like when, you know, because essentially, I suppose we started the band 26 years ago, you know, 1998. So as people, you know, you can only imagine how much everybody changes, and everyone's still doing music and stuff. But but it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to, you know, I guess, you know, to sort of roll out the cliche. It's just a bit like getting divorced, isn't it, to 4 people at the same time, you know, and trying to sort of,
I know what
and
you
then
mean.
trying to sort of go on 3 or 4 holidays together all together or something, or like getting all your ex-girlfriends in a room together and trying to arrange
Oh God,
trying to arrange a 2-week holiday like 4 times a year or something. If you got all your exes in a room together and said, right, we're all going to go on holiday together 4 times a year, but we won't talk about that thing or that thing or that thing or that thing. It's sort of a bit like that, but yeah, thrown in with a bit of kind of, you know, like you know, returning from Vietnam style soldier trauma, and kind of
mate.
Trying to meet up with your inmate from prison after doing life with them for like 30 years, trying to meet up with them in your local and go for a few drinks. It's a bit like all of those kind of things amalgamated together, but much worse, I think.
That's that's the first time you've put it so well, so succinctly. That's exactly it. And as you said it, I've just like, oh God, that would be. We wouldn't even make it to the plane. Let alone
well, exactly. So we struggle with we struggle with the sort of email kind of communication. Yeah. So it's a bit like that, and I think I mean, you know, on another level, there was so much kind of, you know, energy, kind of, you know, bouncing around in the band, you know, that it's so difficult to kind of harness that kind of thing. I think, you know, the things that create it, you know, the things that will probably ultimately destroy it, you know, and I think it's, you know, we were never really, you know, we were never really sort of, you know, going about it as if it was like going to be, you know, a long-term career, some bands are very sort of professional,
Mm.
and with the benefit of hindsight, maybe we should have been a bit more like that, but we were never really sort of, I don't think, creating anything that was stable enough to maybe continue with. But I mean, what's really wonderful is despite all that, there's still people are still interested, and
Oh, mate,
the shows that we were going to do were quite big shows, and it's nice to know that it's just not something that fizzled out and people are like, oh yeah, do you remember those twats? Yeah, yeah. It's nice. It's nice to be remembered with sort of yeah, so fondly, and still, and the music to still connect with people, and the band to still mean so much to people. I think it's really, really sort of wonderful. Yeah.
Well, that's it,
but
mate.
yeah,
It's like, listen to it recently, and I'm listening to it now with older ears. And back then, everything was 100 miles an hour, and we were all doing this and we are all doing that. And now you're kind of listening to it, actually listening to it, and you're going, man, this is proper. This, and like I say, like picking out what I could hear, even though you were saying, oh, we didn't really know about those bands at the time, but I'm listening, like on the way here today, I was listening to it and I'm just going, fuck, this is good. This is so fucking good. And that's never going to go away. That's it now. It's immortalised. People, generations are going to come back to it and go, what's this band? Fucking hell, this is brilliant. You're always going to have that, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. No, it's really, really, really lovely. And I think, as it's been such a long time as well, Nick, like 20 over 20 years since we started. Yeah. That's really great, which means it probably will sort of go on for a lot longer.
Yeah.
I mean, I still really love all the guys, I think if it came down to it, I don't think deep down there's really any sort of, animosity, from my side anyway, but yeah, it's just so complicated and so simple, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh man, it's easiest. I mean, I'm this side going, you just chat to each other, but I'm on this side as a fan, whereas you're going, look, mate, you have no idea what it would take to get everybody in the room and on the same level. So but you're doing your own stuff now. You're doing your own music. Got an album coming out.
Yeah. I've got an album called Psychic Cinema coming out in February under my solo thing, Primitive Ignorant. Which has been really good. So I sort of started that in 2018. So I did Piano Wire with Andy Huxley, who was in Primitive in 80s Matchbox for a while.
Yeah.
And then we went our separate ways, and I just felt like I wanted to do something completely different that wasn't really particularly rock based or guitar based or band based. That was kind of not really sort of attached to one particular style or genre. Started messing around a lot more with electronic music, and kind of pop sort of structures, but with kind of weird beats, but still kind of keeping big bass lines as the sort of center of the whole thing. And I've just had so much sort of freedom with it, done like 2 EPs, and this is the second album. And
brilliant.
The first record I did quite a lot of collaborations, so I got like some friends on there. I got a guy from the War on Drugs, Mick Jones from the Clash, Joe from Idols.
Wow.
So that was really great. And then and Leonore Wheatley from this band I really liked, International Teachers of Pop. And then so this latest record has been less collaborative, just me on my own really. But it's been incredibly freeing and kind of wonderful journey, but it does get a bit lonely sometimes. You do miss that sort of the good bits of being in a band, the camaraderie of, when you sort of feel, I mean, how's it feel like when you're a comedian?
Same. I was just about to say, it's that when you're at the gig and you've just had a brilliant gig and everyone's like, oh mate, oh my God, and you're going, thank you, and everyone's there, all the other comics were all going, what a fucking great night, and then you fast forward an hour or 2 hours and you're sitting on a travel lodge bed in Preston eating a pot noodle with a teaspoon, and you're just going, oh shit, I'm on my own now. It's weird. It's a weird feeling.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So it must
Yeah,
be
I
a
can
similar
imagine
vibe
it's.
to what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You miss that sort of, and I guess for me, it's more during the sort of low points when you feel like giving up.
Mm.
Where you don't have that sort of the strength of the people sort of around you. I guess that kind of thing. But I think I'm sort of
Yeah.
gone way too far now to ever really sort of give up. That's the problem. I think when
That's
you
it.
go
That's
so
exactly it.
far into something, it's
Yes.
just impossible to get out.
Yeah.
You know?
You're done now. That's it. You're
Yeah,
fucked. I'm 20 years in. I thought about it the other week. I'm like, I'll just get a job driving a van. I'm like, but you
yeah,
wouldn't. The van would be in a ditch by lunchtime. I would just binned it off, just because I'm. This is what I
yeah,
do, and the same with you. This is what you do.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can't
yeah,
change
yeah.
that.
And I think it's important to kind of when you're trying to do creative things, you have to devote so much time to it. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
it's I think it's really important. It's a shame there aren't like more funding things. I don't know. I mean, over the years, I
Mm.
just sort of feel like it's never really been taken that seriously, arts over here, have they? And
No, God, no,
I think
no.
it's just a real sort of shame, really. I mean, I know the last government were kind of useless, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether that thing would change under this government or whether it's
Doesn't
just
seem to
it's
be.
just
Yeah,
ingrained into our culture as just a sort of take, but not really give
yeah,
anything back. I mean, because everyone's kind of had to evacuate London, haven't they? I mean, there's not really anything going on there anymore, is there? So
yeah. This is the
yeah,
thing. Yeah. People want the music, and they want the films, and they want the plays, and they want this, that, and the other. They don't
yeah,
want to pay for it, and you're going, well, you've got to support it somewhere. Then you've got what makes me sad is that there's no all the venues, all the interesting venues are getting shut down because no one's going to them, or because it's too
mm,
expensive, or you got property developers now coming in and taking away. Like, some of the best times I've ever had was when I used to go out, get a ticket on the night, and then barrel into like the Town and Country Club or wherever, and or just
mm.
in a room above a pub in Shoreditch, and you're just banging around seeing all these bands, and it worries me that that's not there now, and it's a shame.
Yeah. I mean, do you not think it's like the internet really just sort of messed everything up, didn't it? I mean, I don't know. That's what I think.
Yeah,
I just sort of
yeah,
feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
it because everybody's just so kind of into like what's going on their phones and online and stuff. It's that you just I don't know if people have spontaneously go and watch bands like they would have done. Like when I was growing up, we'd go and watch. We'd just go somewhere, and pay a fiver
Yeah.
and watch the bands, and have some drinks and hang out and meet people and stuff. I don't know whether it's the same thing anymore. And I guess just like
No,
London's some unaffordable. Where are you guys now? You're not in Brighton anymore.
no. So we're down in Frome now, near Glastonbury, down that way. Um,
Oh right. Oh really?
yeah,
Right. Wow.
yeah. It's really cool. It's really cool. Like my wife. This is how we got to do this. Is that my wife Kate,
Of course.
who
Yeah. Yeah.
sends her
Yeah.
love, by the way. She sends her
Oh,
love,
please
by the
send it
way.
back. Yeah. Yeah. Please
I
send it
will do.
back. Yeah.
But she was talking about like when she sort of first met you guys, and she was just saying like, it was just they were so cool, just this bunch, these guys barreling around, and it must have been exciting. It must have been exciting, and I guess with age as well, we're at an age now, like we say, we're a bit more chilled out and a bit
Yeah.
more, like you say, you're being creative, but there's a bit more thought to it. Whereas when you're younger, you just head first, no crash helmet, straight into it.
Yeah. And I think I mean there's good aspects to both, aren't there? I mean, but I
Yeah,
think kind of the best stuff that I create is usually when I'm not thinking about something, when
yeah,
you just decide to just when I really try and create something that I think I want to do this kind of thing and I sit down and I just can't really do it. But it's weird. It's like those things kind of come to you when you're not looking. It's like some kind of weird abstract part of your consciousness, isn't it? And then when you just roll with
yeah.
that, I feel like I sort of do my best. The stuff that I'm pleased with most. I feel like though that since I've got older, I'm probably a bit less interested in what other people think about
Oh, that, yeah,
what
definitely.
I'm doing.
Yeah.
I was very, very consumed with that. I mean, this is quite a recent thing for me, actually.
Mm.
I was very consumed, I think, for a long time about what other people thought about what I was doing, in all
Yeah,
spheres
man.
of my life. Do you know what I mean? And I think that sucked the life out of me, really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely,
and I think
definitely.
I really got into like those. I mean, I haven't really read his book or listened to his podcasts or anything, but I've seen enough snippets of Rick Rubin, talking about the
Oh, yeah,
creative
yeah, yeah.
process, and that changed a lot for me because he was talking about, treat it like it's a hobby, which for me was like, no, no, this is a really serious thing. This is not a fucking hobby. Hobby
Yeah,
is
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
people who go fishing, you know what I mean, or collect stamps, or like to sort
Yeah,
of grow vegetables or something. You know what I mean? This is like a serious
yeah.
thing.
This is
And
my
and then
calling, man. This is my calling.
yeah, yeah, and this is really important. And he talks about enjoying it. And for me, it was never like, oh, this isn't fun. When people used to go on tour and people say, oh, have fun. It's like we're not going, to a sort of safari park or like, or on a picnic or we're not going bowling. You know what I mean? This is like serious. No, we're going to war here. Do you know what I mean? This is like a
Yeah,
serious escapade. We're here to kind of um, try and kind of alter people's lives. Um, but yeah, and and he talks about making it for yourself, making stuff for yourself. And I was never really into that. I was like, this is like, because I think because we got signed to a major label very young,
mm,
and the philosophy at a major label is all like, you know, you need to make big songs for people to buy so that we all make loads of money.
yeah.
That was the kind of thing. And so that was not that we ever did that, but that was kind of, our sort of schooling really in
Mm,
like being signed and being in a band. It was like, suddenly it's like, right, you have to make songs that are going to kind of get on the radio and do this and, and be playlisted and be on Radio 1 and da da da. And that was the information we got all the time. And,
mm.
so it's been really liberating to think, well, actually, I don't really bothered about that. That stuff can happen or can't happen, but it doesn't define the work.
No,
So yeah, yeah. But this is all new for me. Literally in the last couple of years, I've started thinking a bit more like that. And it's
I think that's when it's yeah. I think that's when it starts. In your so
mhm.
I'm because I'm 52, so in your mid
Yeah,
40s later on, and well, maybe even it's only been a recent thing for me, where the same as you, where I've gone actually, I don't give a fuck. I'm actually all right.
mm.
I'm actually all right. I remember years ago
Yeah,
someone
yeah,
saying to me, "You are enough," and I never got it.
yeah,
And now I'm like, forget it. Like, just
yeah,
do
yeah,
your stuff. Someone somewhere, hopefully, is going to dig it. So just do it.
yeah.
And like with your, and it's as you said, it's such a liberating feeling, isn't it? It's so fucking great.
Totally,
Yeah, man.
totally. Yeah. I think getting caught up in kind of feeling what you're doing is really, really, really important, and the self-importance around it, I think, is just starts becoming a bit sort of for me, a bit ugly, and it's not really what it's about anymore.
Mm,
And I think you can kind of maybe that feels a little bit more part of it when you're young, and it's a little bit more about it's a bit more of a lifestyle thing. But again, I think the landscape's kind of changed, because back
mm.
then it was like, you'd never have bands going online, trying to sort of doing a video of themselves going, oh, my new
Oh
album's
no.
out next month. Click on the link below and like, you know what I mean? You would just never do that. You would never
No.
have even, it would ne So there was a lot more of a sort of a mystique, wasn't there, about bands and artists and
Yes.
and people and which I guess was probably a better thing. Whereas now, you just go online and you see your sort of favorite artist talking about walking down, jogging, in the countryside or whatever, talking about how many like steps they've done in the last week or whatever. You know what I mean? And how they're eating. They're doing yoga and some new diet and something or the other, and that kind of thing. And yeah,
You've hit the nail on the head with the
giving us
word
with their
mystique.
political opinions as well.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
This is the
yeah,
thing. You've hit the nail on the head. Is that's what made you want to get into. That's what made you want to be in a band, because you didn't know everything that these people were getting up to. You just saw maybe it was in the because if you're into music, Enemy was the one. Enemy was I remember just buying it religiously. I wanted to be in a band so much because you'd see the pictures in there and you'd see bits in the news and you'd see this, and then you'd have to fill in the gaps yourself, and you just have this imaginary world, and you go, fuck, I want to be part of that, you know?
Yeah.
And you don't have that now.
No, well, it seemed a lot more glamorous, didn't it? And it probably was a lot more glamorous, you know, and there's a lot more sort of fantasy. Again, you had to create your own idea about what these people were like, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas now they give you their moment to moment update on what they've been up to and what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? You know, so it's kind of bit too much, isn't it? I mean, it's a bit too much online, I think.
That's it. I mean, there are, you know, there's the benefit of it is that I was talking about this on another podcast earlier, another record, is that, you know, back in the day, if you wanted to listen to something, you had to physically go and find it. You'd hear a snippet on the radio, or a mate of yours had said, "You got to check out this band." You'd have to go out and find it. I remember when you watched the charts show, and I remember the first time I saw Happy Mondays in 1989 or 88, or whatever it was, and going, I fucking need that. And wandering around all day, wandering around Kensington Market trying to find this Happy Mondays 12-inch. Whereas now you can go, oh, that sounds good. You can Shazam it, so it tells you what it is. Downloads it straight onto your phone, or you got Spotify or whatever. So I do like the fact that you can get a tune whenever you want it. But I do miss those days of having to track it down.
Yeah. It felt a bit more like you were involved in something, you know, and I think having to go and watch the band, you know, if someone told me they thought a band was good, you know, I'd probably go and watch them, you know, whereas now, everyone needs to be told 100 times by 100 different seemingly very important people. And then you might go and look it on YouTube if you can be asked for about 3 seconds, you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I remember. Yeah,
watch
I do
about
remember
3 seconds of it. Oh yeah, they're quite good. You know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen that now.
Yeah.
I was doing a gig.
Yeah.
I was at Cambridge Junction doing a gig, and the promoter said, "Do any of you like Sleaford mods?" And there's me and another guy called Mark Nelson who was on, and we both went, "Yeah, fucking love them." He went, "Yeah," and he gave us AAA passes. He went, "They're just through that door in there," and we went through, and Sleaford mods were on. And we were like, holy shit.
Amazing.
And I remember stood there watching it going, this is fucking brilliant. And they played this song.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, I've got to get that. And I remember going home afterwards and trying to find this, because I didn't know what it was called. And that was the first time in a long time where I've had to track a tune down. And it made me feel so alive. Just that little thing.
Yeah. Oh, did you like Sleaford mods?
Yeah. I think
they're brilliant.
You know,
I think they're brilliant. Yeah. I mean, I really liked them when they came out, and I feel like they could have evolved a little bit more, and but I think when they first came out, I was like, fucking hell, this is really good. This is really really good. So yeah, something's popped up on my screen.
You all right?
A lot, but that's the thing. I kind of, was painting this quite bleak picture of what everything's like, and the internet and all that stuff. But actually, I think the quality of music at the moment is superb. I think it's brilliant. Like alternative music,
mate, yeah. There's some great
really,
stuff. There's
yeah.
Go on.
Because really, when we were around, it was only really just sort of 4 guys in a band, wasn't it? And most of them, were singing about some girl they pulled at an indie club who they're trying to ring and doesn't answer the phone anymore. You know what I mean? It was very quite a lot of it was quite vacuous, and one dimensional. Whereas I think now you've got like lots of really interesting stuff going on. Lots of just with the way that sort of things are a lot more diverse. And just the genres and styles, just with the way music programming's gone and stuff. I think it's generally in a healthier state. I think.
Oh man, I was about to say, because I know people knock the algorithms, and I've been guilty of slagging it off, but at the same time, I've discovered so many great bands through. They go, oh, you were listening to that? Well, check this out. So that's how I found TV Priest. What is it, Varm de Shur? Or so many great bands in that way where I probably wouldn't have even heard them. And it's so in that respect,
Totally.
I'm all for it.
Totally, yeah, and I think also, obviously, if you are a band, you can kind of create your own exposure quite quickly, rather than,
Yes.
back then it was only like 12 bands, wasn't it, in the NME or whatever that they would recycle, and then in Kerrang you'd have all these kind of like other bands, whatever sort of rock kind of Slipknotty style kind of bands, and so it was actually a lot more limited,
It was. Yeah.
Whereas now, you can just record something at home, put it up online, say this is my label, put it on Spotify, and it's
Which is
so I kind of guess it keeps us all going, in a different way, I think. So, but having said that, I would still go back.
Yeah.
How it was. Yeah.
But you can take because you were around then and you're around now. You can take. You're kind of in a nice position. It's like best of both worlds. You remember what it was like, and you remember what you had to do, and now you're in a position where you can. It's easier to get your tunes out there. So I think that's a really good place to be.
No, it is, and I think as you say, we're kind of in it now. So it's just exciting to kind of keep going and keep creating things. And I did some acting actually, like for the first time. Yeah, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Yeah, in this, I was a school teacher in a film called Eating Miss Campbell, which is a sort of dark sort of comedy horror film. Trauma film. I really enjoyed it. It was quite a small part. This other girl had asked me to do this feature length, like the main character. This is during the lockdown, and I think I feel really terrible, but I feel like it was a bit at the wrong time, and there was like singing and dancing involved, and I was a bit worried about that, particularly the dancing bit.
Yeah, that's not the one.
But
I know.
Yeah, you done much acting, or do you?
Bits and bobs, and I was saying this actually. I'm at that age now where I can play. I get asked to do Father Christmas, and they don't give me a beard. They assume I've already got the costume.
Yeah.
So I'm at that age now. I'm. If they can't get Ray Winston, they'll give me a shout.
Oh right, yeah. Fair enough.
Which is, I accept it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I quite like that. I quite enjoyed doing that actually. Yeah, there's another one of those things. I think getting a bit older and feeling like I had no experience to draw on, so I didn't feel any kind of pressure really. So I was just if it's shit, it's shit. I mean, I'm not an actor, so what can people expect? But yeah, it was really good.
See, there's so many things going on, and I love the fact that you're still out there and you're still creating and you're still doing it. And your new album comes out in February, did you say?
February, yeah, via Something in Construction and Republic of Music. Available in all good record stores. But if you buy it from Bandcamp, then I might get an extra 20p or something this year.
But Bandcamp's the way forward, isn't it? Is Bandcamp the way forward? I know there's a few bands on there.
Really good. Yeah. Really good, yeah. I mean, it kind of came alive in the pandemic because they were doing these Bandcamp Friday things, and where all the money goes to the artists, like every month or whatever. But generally, it's like quite good, easy to use, and just easy to sort of set things up. So it's kind of the way everyone's doing things now, isn't it?
Well, it's cool because you get like bands like
really big. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
No, go on.
I was going to say you got all the you got the elite bands, haven't you? The really big bands, and then you've got sort of everybody else. There's not really any middle tier anymore, So
no,
I think you got the sort of Arctic Monkeys and then kind of everybody else,
Yeah,
and
it's trying to find your place. But it's what's nice is that bands on that level can just like if you're linked to them on Bandcamp, I know there's a couple that I am. like benefits and things like that. They'll just go, oh, we've got a new tune out and it's on here, and you can buy it there and then, and it's brilliant.
Easy to use, to use. I think very user friendly. Yeah, so that's good. Yeah, and I mean, I do feel like I kind of want to start a band, just as a sort of a kind of a sort of a punk kind of band, without much sort of premeditation or kind of considered songwriting, just to sort of but it's finding the people, isn't it? It's finding the people, isn't it?
I think if you were to put the word out, man, you'd be inundated. If you just went, I'm putting a band together, there'd be so many fucking people.
Well, I mean, because Manchester's a little bit more kind of, there's quite a few more musicians up here, and
there's so much more scope to do it in Manchester. Yeah.
Yeah. How was you were up here recently, weren't you? While I was down in London or something. You did a gig.
Yeah. We played the Frog and Bucket. Actually, we're going to be up. Not next week, the week after. Kate and I, we're going to be doing the Frog and Bucket, 20 weekend of the 21st. So I don't know if you're around.
Possibly. I think I'm down in London again on the 21st, watching the band. But you're there on the 22nd.
21st, 22nd, 23rd.
Maybe.
We'll be up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I could possibly be around. If I'm around, I'll definitely come and see you, man.
That'd be lovely. Sim, this has been amazing. I can't tell you how pleased I am to have finally got you on and chat. I can't wait for the album to come out. It sounds exactly what I'm into. It sounds banging, and I can't wait.
Oh, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it.
Very cool. Thanks, man.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Dude, it's our pleasure. Where can we find you on the socials?
So I got my Primitive Ignorant Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and then my own name, Symren Gharial, on all those as well. I've got a TikTok, but I think I've got about 7 followers or something. Yeah.
Mate, people of a certain age, we've all got about 7 followers.
I don't know. It's a bit of a bridge too far for me, that one. I think that is really for the kids, isn't it?
It's for the kids, man. Well, it's turned into. I don't know if you've looked at it lately. It's a bit of a shopping channel. Everyone's flogging.
Oh, is it?
I don't know, like mic stands and bread bins, and it's a bit like QVC.
Oh, is
now.
it? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Oh, late to the party on that one then.
But Sim, this has been amazing.
Find me anyway.
Thank you, mate.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks so much, Rich.
Great. Mate, my pleasure.
No worries.
This has been Symren Gharial. This has been Rich Wilson. This has been Insane in the Membrane. This has been producer Paul. We'll see you next time.